Being a parent comes with all different responsibilities. You've got this child that you're bringing into the world to become an adult, and then you have to deal with all sorts of different topics to talk about with the child, even simple things like guiding them in finances to more complex issues like sexuality and masturbation and drugs. All these things are pressing down. What is your mission as a parent, and how do you address this?
Welcome to Share.Care, an all-inclusive community sharing experience, strength, and hope to create strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships. Share.Care communities work toward every individual feeling safe, valued, and heard, free from the threat of danger, pain, or harm. Each episode, founder Damian Andrews explores the principles underpinning Share.Care and invites expert special guests to share their knowledge so you can easily reap the benefits so many others experience. You hold the choice to create your future. Let it be with strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships.
Here I am. Okay.
Pleasure to see you again, as always.
Thank you. Just placing everything. Make sure I'm bringing light.
You always bring light.
Oh, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Excited for the new year, and had I had a good day. Caught up with some friends I haven't seen for 20 years, so today was a really good day.
Wow.
Yeah, some people I worked with a long time ago. One of the people moved. She moved overseas. Her husband got a job working for Tesla, and they moved to originally to Nevada and then to California, and then they came back, but recently just moved to Spain because that's where she's originally from. So now he still works for Tesla but works remotely, and so it was good to catch up with them and a few other people that we all worked together at the same time, and we had a lunch today.
Right.
Yeah. So
Sorry, I'm taking something.
That was.
You need to cut this.
No, I'm not going to cut it. It's
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I haven't. Okay, now I'm.
Yeah. Exactly. Got to get comfortable. We got to enjoy our surroundings and environment. And yourself, what did you get up to for New Year's? Did you do anything exciting? Go out raging?
No, I was at home.
Yeah.
Spoke with some family over the call, like video call.
Yeah,
my daughter was here with me. I basically was working on some stuff and watching movies, and I had a glass of wine in my hand and I had some dance during the countdown. But that's it. And I pray. That's it.
Nice.
I did pray.
What did your daughter do with you? My son was here and he was playing video games so he was playing video games here with me, and I was actually doing some work on a proposal. Writing that out.
So basically she was on my side just watching she was watching. So weird that she was watching something on her. I found weird because these days we have so many ways of doing finding something to do, like watching. She was watching a soap, I think. I don't know, some series on her laptop, which is on Disney. Okay. But because we don't have the app on our box that connects with our TV, and she can't connect to see on the TV, so she's on the laptop and I am on the TV, and on the computer was like that.
Screens all around, yeah.
And we have so many ways and methods to nowadays, like, to watch things. It's crazy.
It is. I must say I've been guilty of that myself, where I've gone to bed and I haven't quite been tired, and I pulled the phone out, which has I've got Disney as well, Disney or Netflix on my phone, and I pulled it out, and we're actually watching the old MASH series, and which was on Disney, and so yeah, there's a couple of times at night I'm laying there, I can't sleep, and so I've just pulled my phone out, and I'm watching MASH on my phone. It's like
I don't know. I can't watch anything on my phone because
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not that person that watch. I see a lot of people watch stuff, but I don't. I do have an iPad. That's why maybe
Yeah.
I don't watch on my phone.
Yeah.
What about your letters? Apart from mine, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yours will come. Will arrive. But how many did you manage to send to us?
Yeah, I didn't count how many I did, but I did write them out and sent out quite a number, and delivered them to family, as mostly family, and to a few other people. And yes, it was actually, it was good. It was actually really, really good, and I want to plan that out a bit more. And as a gift to people, is to write out that type of letter and say, "Hey, thinking of you." And it doesn't need to be a lot. You don't need pages and pages. And it was very, let's say, cathartic. Maybe it's certainly therapeutic. I don't know if cathartic's the right word, but it felt really good. Let's put it in layman's terms. It felt really good. Let's keep away from the big words. I'm stumbling all over them at the moment. And it was really good to write it, but I think it really moved the people that received them as well. Even my brother, who we have I'm going to say a brotherly relationship. Sometimes I just shake my head when I get an email from him. I look at it and go, "Oh, I can't be bothered." But it touched him. So that was, because I wrote him a letter as well, and he was very moved. Well, he said he was very moved by that. He didn't read it at the time. He read it later. Because I gave it to him in person. I went to visit on Christmas Day. Just before Christmas Day, and yeah, and then I got this
awesome.
nice for a change. I got a nice email from him, not one with a bit of sarcasm in it. So that was really nice.
That's really good.
He doesn't mean it. He just doesn't understand.
I did also send loads of, I think, I can't remember the number, but maybe 30 something.
Yeah.
No letters, but a card, but each card is for each person, because I'm that kind of person that writes. I'm not that one. And my niece, the day before Christmas Eve, 23rd, I went to the pub with my sister and my niece. And I gave my sister a card. And she said to my niece, "So when you get tomorrow morning, when you wake up, when you're having your coffee, you read this letter, because this is not going to be a card, it's going to be a letter, because she will say, 'Dear la la la, I wish you blah 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 and la la la,'" and she's right, because I'm going to write something for that person. And then we were laughing, and they said, "Oh my God, how can you do it?" I said, "Simple. It's simple." I love it. So I'm still at all my cards are delayed.
Yeah.
I only heard from one person that received, and she's in UK, because most of them I sent to Brazil, I sent to Portugal, I sent to England and Australia. So it will take time.
I think too, the world is catching up, as far as there's so many things that are still catching up from COVID, and also, other changes that have happened in the way the world does things because of events that happened last year. And because I know, like, my letter to reach you, it took a lot longer than would normally take to reach when I've sent things overseas before, via express. So it was. And it could be that time of year too, because it is that Christmas time of year.
Yes,
can be,
right.
it's obviously a bit busier as well.
Definitely.
But
happens a lot here.
Well, I was thinking, and I was thinking of cheating for next year and starting to write the letters now, so I didn't have to write them all at once. But then I'm thinking, is that really the right thing to do? And will it, you know? And also, too, I was thinking you could write something out and write this really cool thing, and then your relationship changes, and it all your letter doesn't make any sense anymore. But it's better. It was such a good process to write that out as a gift. So I
Mhm.
think, you know, but I was thinking of expanding on that for birthdays as well, or just a random thing, just to, you know, it was such a really good thing to do and simple to
I
do. It's so, you know, well, economically, you know, a pad, you know, even a good, you know, quality pad, doesn't cost that much money, and a pen, most people have those anyway, so it's not like you have to go and buy one. And, you know, sending it in
mhm.
the post, you know, most standard post doesn't cost that much,
I
and or
do.
hand delivered
Yeah.
items.
I always done letters or cards for
Mm.
birthdays, and I show you. I don't know if you're gonna be able, but this is my list of birthdays
Oh,
that
cool.
I have. Each month is a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and then on my diary every day, like on the yesterday I was writing on my new diary because it's
Mm.
2023, and on each specific day, because not every day I have people, but it will be on the title of my day on my diary. So
Mm.
I know exactly, but I normally I used to send birthday cards to all these people. Nowadays I'm not sending that much. But it felt so good to do the cards this Christmas and send them away without any expectations. It's just myself. I really feel really good as well. Was really, really good experience. And I want to carry on. So I think thank you for we for our conversation, because I try to inspire you, and I went in. I end up inspired as well to do the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Well, it's something I used to do a long time ago, was make a big point of sending Christmas cards out to people like you're doing, and I stopped doing it. And it's not that hard. And it
mm,
you know, and I said I wrote letters, and it was, you know, it was sometimes 2 pages, but it didn't actually take that long to write them either.
I don't. Yeah, because when you have the feeling, or you have the willing to do it, you
Mm.
don't think too much what you're gonna write. You know who is the person, so you just open yourself.
Well,
This
that's the
is
thing
me.
too, you don't, I mean, I didn't, because I thought about that, and I didn't put pressure on myself as to what I should write, or I just
Right?
wrote. And,
Yeah.
but also too, coming to our topic as well of, you know, our mission as a parent, I made sure that my son saw me writing these as well, and I talked about the writing of it, and what that was and what that meant, and he witnessed me giving the present as well when I handed that over. So and I did it deliberately so he would see it,
Mhm.
and see what that was like, and talked about that, and just how that impacted, um, me and the people that received it, so that he got, and I let him know when I got a response, or when somebody said something, this
Just
is what they've said. Just
just remember one situation. Sorry,
Yeah,
Damien. I do have a guy just the next road, like opposite of my house,
mm,
which is a mechanic, and he works with classic cars. And like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, or maybe more,
yeah,
I, I had a friend here, and we were about to go out, and we passed, and my friend really liked the cars as well,
yeah,
and he went there. So we spoke with this gentleman, and I always see him there doing his job, ta 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 ta, with lot of different cars, but he's always by himself.
yeah.
So I felt like I'm gonna do a card for this person.
I love it.
And my daughter went off to walk the dog, and I said, "Oh, please, can you give this?" Because on the day I met him, he told me his name. I never forgot. So it's Roger, and I took Jamila. My daughter took the card, and she gave him the card. He said, "Can I give? Oh, thank you, you made my day, thank you so much. Can I give you a hug and a kiss?" And then he hugged my daughter and my and kissed. And he said, "What door are you?" And she said, "Oh, we are on 49." And on that specific day, which was 23rd, I
Yeah.
went to the pub, like I said before. Guess what? When I arrived, the guy came here, he dropped me a card, just with little words, because my card was a lot of writing. I don't know the person, but I wish him.
Yeah.
And he gave us 2 cards, and on each card he gave us a voucher of a supermarket with £10 each. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh my god, oh my god! I was like, wow, a simple jest that makes a huge difference in people's lives. It was. I never expected. I was like, what? It's crazy, beautiful, beautiful. And I haven't seen him since yet. So I can give him a hug now because
It's your turn to give the hug. Yeah.
it's so nice. It was so nice.
Well, it is like that even today when, because the restaurant we had lunch in, it was funny you mentioned about giving a hug, and it's like, I know I've been going to this restaurant for 20 years. I know the owner really well. I haven't been there for a little while, but when we were looking for a place, people said, we're going, "Where do we have?" And I said, "Well, what about here? I know it's gonna be open." And they said, "Yeah," and it was great. But yeah, when I walked in, saw the owner, George is the owner, and hadn't seen it, and he came up, "Happy New Year," went to give a shake, give a handshake, and I was like, "Bring it in, let's have a hug," and and just that, and we had a bit of a chat and stuff like that. But that whole being able to, just show that emotion and that you connected with them, and even the thing of giving a hug, it was like, we're in this busy restaurant, and I'm sitting there giving the owner a hug, and it's like, why can't we do that? It's um,
Yeah, I don't have any problems. I give hugs everywhere if I
yeah,
feel for
exactly.
it.
I didn't write him a
Okay,
letter though because I wasn't sure if he was going to be there. I didn't think of that. Maybe I should do that. Leave
next
it
time.
door for him.
No,
Exactly.
next time.
Yeah.
So
And
I will definitely start my cards in advance, not like this time, because that's why everyone is not. That's why they haven't arrived yet. Because I will do my maybe beginning of December. They will be ready. So November
yeah.
next. I mean this year for
I used to do
Christmas.
that with Christmas. I would always plan the presents throughout the year. So I'd be if I saw something the person would like, I
Mhm.
would buy it and put it away somewhere, and that was a habit that I got into, and of buying, and hopefully the friendship stayed. In most cases, it did. And I would stash it away, and then at Christmas, my Christmas shopping was easy because I had done it all, and then just as a matter of wrapping it up and giving it to people, which was that it did make that process a lot easier. But yeah, it's one of those things that kind of let go as well. But it's because now it's like, well, what do you get people? I mean, most people have things that they want or other things. There's other people that I know that aren't in a which I've or an example. I mean, my mum, I help out a bit financially and send some money to her on a regular basis and things like that. So to give her a gift on top of that, she it becomes uncomfortable. She's like, because she doesn't feel like she's contributing, and it's like, it's whereas again, writing the letter to her, it was it was something that could be done without having that issue, which she loved it a lot, because it was more heart. Yeah, I think that kind of giving of where it is, it's not it's not physically tangible I guess it is in a way because it's a letter, but it's more intangible because of the content that's in there.
Mhm.
And that makes it a lot easier um, to be accepted without feeling this need to. I mean, as much as your guy the guy across the road gave cards back with the gift vouchers. It's a smaller gesture, but it means a lot when you've written something out like that. It's
Yeah.
it was just it's weird. And it's funny, isn't it? The little things like that. It's a tiny little thing, but it was really, really powerful. And it didn't take long to write out. It was it
Yeah.
wasn't hard to write them out. And and you're just talking about the experiences that were shared, and it's like I appreciate the experiences that we share together. Was essentially my motivation when writing these out. It was like, okay, I'm just going to tell you about what we did together, and that I appreciate that. It was
By the
just,
way, I read my letter with my daughter. And she was like, "Oh, so cute!" She was like, "Oh, this is so cute! Wow!" From Australia, because she received the letter from Australia. It was funny.
my biggest
Yeah.
struggle though was making my handwriting neat. So I had to write slower.
When I opened, I said, "I hope I understand everything." There we go. I never receive a letter. I don't know your writing. I know
Yes,
we don't have that many long relationship to know how you write in person.
yeah,
I know how you write in computer because you send me emails, but
yeah.
I was like, "Uh-oh, let me." And when I open, I said, "Oh, okay, I can
I
understand."
can.
Otherwise, I would tell you anyway. I'm that person. I'm that
Yeah,
kind. I will tell you. Listen, you will have to write me. Read me the letter back because I can't understand. But I could. I could.
yeah.
And
Well, I didn't take a snapshot, so I was like, I always wonder about that. That I did that. I used to do that. Was like when I was sending a letter that I'd handwritten, I'd scan it or take a photo of it just so I had my own copy.
wow.
Don't know why I
What
did that.
about what
So,
about your dad? How was your get
yeah,
together?
I mean, my dad and I have a really, really good relationship, and and that's it was good to he came for a visit, and we had a few people. We had a barbecue out that well, we had dinner out the back, so we set up outside and I had a big marquee that I'd set up in the backyard, and we also it was a really really beautiful day,
Mhm.
and yeah, so we sat out there, and there was a couple of neighbours that I invited across as well, and so we had this. I think there was 8 of us sitting around, my dad and his friend that came to visit with him, and we just had the afternoon, having some food, sitting outside. So the weather was beautiful. Um, it turned out really perfect, and it was just a nice connection. Which I do. So I have a really I'm gonna say I'm lucky, but I don't know that it's luck that I have a good relationship with my dad. It hasn't always been good. When especially in my teenage years, like I would imagine a number of people go through that, but it was something that I wanted to make sure I cultivated, whether I was initially conscious of it or not, but certainly as an adult now, or as a older adult, it's something that we both respect each other, um, and it wasn't. I said I don't think it's an accident. It's just something we both wanted,
Yeah.
and certainly something I wanted, and part of that too was respecting. We don't agree on everything, but we respect each other's opinion, and we listen to each other's opinion. We don't try and force our opinion on the other person either. If we have a difference of opinion, we have a difference of opinion. That's okay. We can deal with that. We don't even have to deal with it. It's just that's okay. Um,
That's the way it should be always.
yeah. So it's and that's why I say I don't want to say I'm lucky that I've got that relationship because it was. I don't think it's luck. I think it's a choice that we've made. We both whether my dad we haven't talked about whether we and so I don't know if he made that conscious choice or not, but I certainly now always make sure that it's like for me I that's the relationship I want. I make sure like when one of us does it when we see each other we always give each other a hug. We always say love you and it's not it's not it's not luck that we do that because I consciously make sure that I do that.
Mhm.
When I'm on the phone to him, we don't talk often. We don't need to. But when we do talk and hang up the phone, or before I hang up the phone, I always say, well, mate, it's a conscious thought. I'm going to say I love you, just
Yeah.
to close out that. And then we have that relationship where we respect each other. We understand. I mean, my dad has had some recently. He had a couple of controversial emails that he wanted to send to do with some organizations he's dealing with and situations he wasn't happy with, and he sent a copy of it to me as a draft and saying, "Can you give me your thoughts on this?" So he respects my opinion as well. So it's not, and so I gave him my thoughts, and not telling him what he should do, but this is how I perceive it. And he's like, oh yeah, cool, thanks. And separate these. So he did. He actually separated into two different emails because there's a couple of topics in there. And but yeah, so it was really good catching up with my dad. I enjoy that.
It's so good to listen you talking about your parents, because my ones, they're not here anymore. So I just think, wow.
But it doesn't. I mean, I remember, like, from what you're experiencing, like my granddad, or both granddads. My granddad on my dad's side died first, and I couldn't really understand him because he never spoke English. He always spoke Polish, so he never learned English. But you still get a feeling of what they're saying. And the thing was, I actually, because of what was happening with my parents around that time, I hadn't seen him for a little while, and he was quite ill and in hospital. And I joined the army, and I was leaving, and I went to the hospital to see him. And I told him, I said, I'm joined the army. And he's saying, I remember him, he was happy with that. Because he was in the Polish Marines and he escaped from 2 concentration camps and stuff like that. We found all this out after he died, not beforehand. He would never let anyone talk about World War II. And yeah, so I went to visit him the day before a couple of days before I was going to go to join and be in the army. So I'd joined, but I hadn't left yet. And he died that night. After I hadn't seen him for a while. And I remember there was a kind of a feeling of loss. I don't know, he was kind of a really strong character as a person. Very strong. He would, very strong and very calm character, but very mandated a few things. Like my parents, my mum, my dad and his sister, even though when they grew up and they had 4 children of their own, every Sunday they had to go to his place for dinner then my nana cooked dinner. And so every Sunday there was like, we got together, the whole family got together for all this Sunday dinner. And that was, I didn't know as a kid, but that was a requirement of my granddad. It was like the family gets together every Sunday and we have Sunday dinner. So there was, my my granddad and my grandmother, my dad and my mum, and my dad's sister and he and her husband, and they both had 4 kids. So me and my 3 siblings and their 4 children all together for this Sunday dinner. I don't know how we all fit around the table, to be honest. Now I think the kids went for anyway. But it was a little bit later. And I remember this. I can't remember how it came up, but relating to your parents not being around, I had this. It was an amazing vision, and maybe it's because Catholic upbringing or whatever. I had this vision of him. He was in his hospital white gown. He was sitting on a cloud. He had his pipe, had these wings out the back, and he was just really happy, looking down. And I could feel him saying, "Look, everything's okay." I couldn't hear anything. It was just like everything's okay. And I've carried that with me ever since. That whatever it is, everything's okay. Which is interesting. Like he's no longer here physically, but he's still here. I still have him inside me from that, and that's there. I also had with my mum's granddad. I actually was holding him when he died. I felt his last breath. It was insane.
Me and my mom. But, I found really lovely to hear you, especially because one of the things that was most hard for me when losing my mom, when I lost my dad when I was 9 years old, but it's different stage. I remember screaming and crying, but that's it. And then I grew up in my life. But when I lost my mom 7 years ago, almost 8, one of the things that I most struggled for more time, for the longest, I think, was the fact that I can't send any more letters. I can't call her anymore. I can't hear that voice saying, okay, Yola, it's my time for watching my soap. So you talk a lot. So let's go. Call me tomorrow. You understand? There is no one. And you still having this opportunity to do that, no matter how many times. I wouldn't say that I used to call her every single week or every single day, but maybe every single week. But it's like, it's not about the time, the number of times. It's about the quality that you get with your parents. That is, no one is going to replace them. And that was so hard for me, so hard.
Yeah,
because it's one of the things, because I really don't know how to explain, actually. But it's something that when we lose someone that we love, and we lose someone that we really connected, this is one of the things that we start to grieve, and then we start to really, for me, was one of the most painful things, was just knowing and cannot change that, and you're so used to, and there is none now. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Have you tried like talking to her? I've got friends of mine where their parents have died, but they actually still have a conversation with them.
That's yes, but it's just during the beginning, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I can't relate. I can't relate because I don't have. Both my parents are still around. So.
Yes, amen. You tend to pick up your phone and you cannot do anything, and it's like around the first 6-8 months, because you are. Let's say my mom passed away in April, and in July I got my own flat. So who do I think I'm gonna call? Who do you think I wanna call?
Yeah.
My mom.
Yeah.
And getting to the phone and that, whoa, it's just like, what? You can't do that, Yola. You don't have any more that path, like that.
Yeah, I get it.
That opportunity. I can talk, and she knew, and I feel her. She's with me, but it's just that.
Yeah.
It's like someone is blocking you to go move forward. It's like you get your diploma, or you get something, or you buy a car, you buy a house, or anything. Everything that would make my mom proud and happy.
Yeah.
And you can't share. It's like, Mom, do you know? It's like now you say, Mom, do you know? Can you believe I wrote, I don't know how many letters to many friends, and they so grateful.
Yeah.
You're not gonna just call me and tell me. I think some things is just for parents. It's like now, my daughter, when she deeply, when she's in, or either in pain, unhappiness, or something, she comes for me. She comes to. She shares with me first, then shares shares with the world, and that is the thing that I was craving. If I can say craving, it is tough. It is tough.
No,
But
that makes sense. I mean, because like you say, it's a craving. You had that physical contact as much as said, and I probably, from my experience, when I talked about my granddad being on the cloud, that kind of sounds weird in today's world. He's in the cloud. What have I uploaded him? In a way, I suppose. But I probably didn't have, because said he didn't speak English. We had some connections, but there wasn't that similar thing that you have with a parent, which is very much different, that a child has with a parent. Yeah.
And there is other people as well that we get to know, and we create a relationship. Like I had a lady, I used to call her auntie, and she also passed away on the year after, and she was living here, and she was like my stone, like somewhere where I can go. I can call grandma, auntie, sister, mother. She was on her 70s. She was really, I don't know, it's just universe sent to us. Like, she was like family.
Yeah.
And like losing that as well is hard, because that was the lady that I every weekend or every week I would think, okay, I'm gonna go and see Tia Maria.
Yeah.
And then nowadays I don't have any auntie, anyone close. You know what I'm saying? Like, these kind of people, they just make you. It's taking. I think we lose something. We lose something when we lose them, but we also in ourselves, in myself, I lost something that I can replace.
Yeah. Do you think it's important from that perspective when you're talking about the relationship you have? Because when I look at, I'm thinking about it from the perspective of, I've got both my parents at the moment, but no, of course they won't be around forever. And I try and think about, when I look at in my past, there's a number of things that, as a parent, they probably didn't do very well.
Yeah.
And there's a number of things that they, I think they did do well, because I think I'm pretty, turned out all right. So they must have done some things right. Do you think it's really important to focus on, those things that they did do right, more so than dragging around stuff they didn't do right? Especially after they've gone, I mean, is that when you think about your mum, what do how do you deal with that? I mean, what do you focus on? Or
I think back in the days when I was younger, I would say that I would focus more on the good things she did
yeah.
as a parent.
Mm,
But nowadays, no, because whatever she couldn't do or she did wrong
mm,
was the only thing she knew how to do it.
yeah.
In the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of things I can say unfortunately, and other things, a lot of things I can say fortunately. I was blessed to be a daughter of my mom, my mother, my parents, my father as well, because even nowadays, when I talk with people, and recently, the last few years, I found more things about my father
Yeah.
um, that makes me more who I am.
Okay.
Um, it's like, like, for example, the love that I have for Brazil,
Yeah.
can I explain to you? But then I found out that my father was totally in love, or if is a worst, a bigger word for that.
Yeah.
Specific, the same city, which is Salvador da Bahia, and
Yeah.
I didn't know, and knowing this now, and it
Yeah.
was like, okay, so I and my mom as well. The love that I have for cars, for driving,
Yeah.
that's my mom. My mom loved to drive. I love to drive. If I could drive from here to Australia, I wouldn't say no. I would drive,
You're doing
no matter
well.
how long I'm gonna take, but I
Yeah.
will. You understand?
You can
Because
drive
and
for
this,
me. I used to love to drive. Now I don't like it so
I
much.
love driving. I don't. I really love driving, but it is, and it's not about the speed. It's about the quality. I don't want to explain. If you get a chance to be with me in the car, I will show
Yeah, I
you.
was going to say, trying what is it that because we recently did a trip up to it was a 4.5 hour drive, and I mean I have always loved driving, but now it's like when there's those long trips like that, it's okay, we're gonna get there, but it's like I get over it fairly quickly. It's like
Really?
where's the plane when I want the plane?
So for me, if I'm driving or if I'm the second driver, no matter how long is the trip,
Yeah,
actually, don't see see if you can understand. I don't like to drive on traffic. I
yeah,
hate. I
yeah,
don't like. This is not driving. This is stop. No, 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 no.
yeah,
That's not driving. But if we're gonna go on a long trip, oh, that's driving.
yeah,
I get to know the car. I get to know the roads. I get to know the sounds. I love that. I love that. But coming to what you ask,
yeah.
in my view, yeah, definitely. It is not, I don't focus on the good things because no, I, I do know exactly that she or them, because my father as well has a story behind. So they didn't know to do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they end up doing me crazy.
But what you've said there is really, because I have exactly the same thoughts with my parents. It's like they did the best they knew how to. Now, and they didn't have some of their, certainly, I think on my mum's side more so, didn't have great examples to learn from. And I think that's part of when we look at, our mission as a parent is do we, repeat everything they do, or do we take that and move forward? Um, and that's where I don't know. I don't want to be bitter about it. I don't think that's healthy to start with. Um,
Yeah,
and it's like, but also to, you know, blaming someone when
just
they didn't. Um, I truly believe my parents did the best that they could with what they had. As much as some of that was probably, I mean, both parents today are still not the best communicators in the world. I was terrible as a communicator, and I'm not saying that I'm great now. I think I'm pretty good, but there's times where I can certainly be better. And but when I was younger, I was terrible at communicating with people, and because of the experience that I had. Um, but it also too, I mean, it gave me that opportunity to learn as well how to communicate, how to be more understanding, how to listen more. Listening was a big one. It's kind of funny because it was always taught to listen. You got to listen, but my parents never listened. It was like,
I had a I had a situation a few days ago when my niece, she's a mother of two.
yeah,
She's on, I think she's gonna be 30 or so. I don't know. I never know. I have so many nephews and nieces that I don't know really the ages. I get lost. But she got two babies. She got two babies. She got two kids,
yeah,
and one of them is 13 years old.
mm,
And some of his friends
mm.
are on that transition. Um, I don't know if it's called like that. Anyway, is the transsexuals and all this
Okay,
this kind of I don't know how to say this in general. Type of, I don't know. Anyway, yes, and I was with her, and she came and she asked me, Yola, how can I talk with my, because his her son got someone on his friendship
yeah,
that is transgender. Is that correct? Is that the name? Is the way to
trend,
say
trend. Are you talking
it?
transsexual? No.
Maybe, yeah,
Yeah,
something. Is big. It is a girl that wants to be a boy, or is a boy trans? No, it's a girl
yeah,
becoming a boy,
yeah, yeah,
and her son came to her, and she was asking me, how can she react to this? She said, I don't know how to talk about these things with my kids.
yeah,
And I was thinking, wow, all right. So she's living in a different era because my mom didn't need to talk with me about these things
yeah,
because they were rare. They didn't exist. They exist behind the doors, behind everything, because it's very well hidden. I'm
yeah.
not saying like when we were young,
Mm,
we didn't have bisexuals or lesbians or anything,
mm.
but it was hidden from the society.
Yeah,
Do you understand what I mean?
yeah,
And
no, yeah,
she was very scared because she don't know how. And I said, uh, try to find information because I'm the same way. I don't know as well that much. I would go and Google something if he asks specific things.
Yeah.
But as a parent, that was tough. I felt like, wow, I can't help her. I couldn't help her that much. And she said, I'm really without words. I really felt that she was.
So she was out, like she didn't know how to talk about it with her child.
Yeah.
The child wanted to go through that change, or
Not her child.
yeah.
The friend's child goes through that change, but her son is asking,
Yeah.
Mom, why my friend is changing or wants to change, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not about my nephew to
Yeah.
change. It's about my nephew asking my niece
Yeah.
why his friend is doing that. What is really pride means? What means pride? Or actually, the question, the situation was at his school.
Mm.
There was an invitation to go to another school to celebrate Pride.
Okay.
And she didn't know what to say, if she allowed him, if she don't allow. And she was like, I really don't know how to deal with these things. Sorry. And just brought this topic because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. It's quite tough. How would you feel?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that. I was just saying that, like, that's within the school system as well. So the school has said, okay, we're going to another school to celebrate Pride, and that's, I'm perfectly okay with that from my personal perspective, and but would if my son, he's 14, he come and ask me, what does that mean? Yeah, I mean, I think about it from that perspective. I'd be quite comfortable because I guess probably too because I've had throughout my life lots of gay friends, even my best friend. Um, I think he went through a period where he thought he was gay or he wasn't sure about his sexuality. I know that because he asked me out, and I was like, yeah, like I said, I appreciate. I'm flattered. I'm flattered, but I'm you're a great mate and stuff like that. But I'm not. I don't find that it's not an attraction to me. Yeah, and I think because too, I was quite open as a child too. Maybe he was, because I mean, it was to me, being friends was being friends, and we played, and there wasn't. I always found it difficult when people talk about the norm that men can't express emotions, because that's not something I grew up with a lot of my friends. We're quite, we've always been able to have, yeah, we've always been able to give each other a hug, that kind of thing. It's no big deal. But when we were a bit later on, older in life, my best friend, when I wasn't dating someone, he let me know, and I was like, well, no, this is just friendship. So from that perspective, as a parent, I think I'd
feel comfortable.
yeah, because to me it's explaining the situation, and I have thought about that too. I've actually thought about it from the perspective of, what if my son came to me and said, "Hey, I'm gay." How would I react to that? Maybe I think too much and go through all these different scenarios. But it was like, okay, if that's and because I've always said to him, I said, and this where when we're watching the June movie, when the dad and the son in the movie were talking, and the king says to the son, it's like when if you don't want to take over the throne, that it doesn't matter, because you're already everything you need to be for me. You're my son. That's everything you need to be. And I've been like that with my son from a long time. We had a giggle when we heard that on when we were watching the movie, because we were like, he looked at me and goes, "You say that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know." They stole our line.
It's like, Damien, so I do love gays. I do have friends, gays friends. I don't have any problem with that. I love to be surrounded by them. They happy, they energetic, I like the vibe. But as a parent, like I saw my niece so scared at the same time. It's like scared with no words. She really don't know how to explain something that was not implemented in yourself, on your culture from day one. Nowadays, we have so much access for the kids, or because for everyone that you really, I think she wasn't expecting that it could come to her, because he could go Googling, like, or he could ask a teacher, but came to her, to his mom, made her feel like, I don't know really. I thought, like, if I don't allow you to, if I don't allow him to go to this event, he will start to, like, investigating and might gonna go behind my back. If I allow him, am I bringing this curiosity? Is that kind of thing that happened to her. I could feel, and myself as a parent, if my daughter, like you said about your son, I would be like, okay, but will make me think, oh my God, how is gonna be this? Now I'm gonna, because it's not a normal thing. It's a normal thing nowadays, but it's not the way I've been raised, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, because
It
from
is.
that, I think for me, and that's where when we're talking about, my parents, I mentioned before, there's a lot of things they didn't do right. One of the things I'm grateful for, especially from my mum's side, or my mum's perspective is she was always very open to talk about things, and we could have conversations about different stuff. I remember my mum. It's one of those, sex is not something that you always want to be, talking about with your parents. My mum had this book about the reproduction, and it was two robots. But one was they were on wheels, and one had a vagina, which was the other one had it was like, and then it just said, okay, and it went like that, and then they moved together, and it's like, so, and it was like from a very early age, I understood, and what went where. The thing was, this book didn't say whether you moved or what, so it just went, you went there, and just, do you sit there or do you go back and respond? Well, I didn't know. It was like, so and then because I didn't, so some other kids I grew up with, I think they watched a bit of porn or something like that, and because they were talking about something like that, how someone must have been one of their parents had a video that they found, and so they're talking about it, and I'm still sitting there going, so. Yeah, I know what goes. What's the excitement? I know what goes everywhere, but then I'm going, yeah. What happens after that? It's like no one told me about cigarettes.
The basics. You know the basics. You knew the basics.
So it was like, so it's kind of, there was a lot of things like that where my mum was very open about talking about things, and there wasn't anything taboo as far as I'm aware of that we couldn't talk about, if needed to be. That's my experience. I don't think my siblings have the same memory, but we all have different.
It's like the drugs, Damien, is the same like drugs.
Yeah.
My mom never sat down with me, said, oh, this is marijuana, this is la, this is cannabis, this is la, this is cocaine. No. Back in the days, that was hidden.
Yeah.
My mom said to me, Yola, if you start smoking, make sure you never accept cigarettes from other people. That was one thing that I carry all my life, because they can put something there and you can die, or you can have something. But apart from that, my mom didn't explain anything else. I learned with life.
That's a good point, because we never had, but then it was never in front. We never had a discussion about drugs because it was never there. I grew up in a small country town. There was never, some friends when I was in high school, they smoked a bit of marijuana. They had a bong and had some marijuana, and I had it, and it's like it had no effect on me. So I'm like, literally, I didn't get high, and it tasted terrible. So I was like, what's the excitement? What are you guys? And then I pretended, because they were hassling me, going, "Oh, you got to get something." So I pretended to have a trip. So I get it from. I was like, and they go, and I could hear him. I had my eyes closed, going, and they go, "Oh, he's tripping," and it's like. And I'm like, oh, I can hear what you're saying, but I'll just shut up and let go because this is just, And then I kind of ditched them as friends because it just
You
was,
know,
yeah,
that's what I was saying. It's the same way
yeah,
drugs was the same way
yeah. And if
for
you don't have that experience, I guess that's probably too as a parent, you want to be. How do you? I mean, yeah, I haven't really thought about that, keeping up to date with what's going on, but I do.
nowadays.
Yeah.
I do talk with my daughter about drugs. I don't
Mm,
have any. Do you understand?
mm,
Because it's everywhere.
mm,
Camila, be careful with your glass when you're in a club. Keep your glass together with you all the time. Um, I show if we're talking about if you're watching a movie or there we go, we have the what
mm,
movie really explains very well about drugs.
yeah,
Pablo Escobar. I don't
yeah,
know if you never watched, you're gonna
yeah,
have a good lesson.
yeah,
It's really good to
mm,
learn. Because
yeah,
when I started to watch that as a series, I was like, now I understand more
yeah.
about drugs because
Okay.
the way they created, the way they go everywhere in the world, and it's so accessible.
Yeah,
It's so
accessible.
easy access.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it is really important. But back in the days, my mom, I never thought about drugs anyway. That
yeah.
was
That's an interesting because I mean I've had because I don't drink anymore, and Benjamin's aware, and it actually came up when my dad come to visit because I got some beer for him to have, but he didn't have anything. He would normally have a beer, but he didn't. But we were talking about that, and my son mentioned he got involved in that conversation about not drinking, and that was really interesting. And from experience, so I do wonder about that when he gets to that age. What will he do? Will he go on that thing, or will he? Because I'd be very surprised if he ever smokes. Um, because I mean, smoking is such a taboo thing now. Anyway, it's only really, um, well, it's more older people and people in more impoverished areas that haven't. But we're not in that situation. And none of his, when I look at it, none of my, like he's certainly my friends that are parents at the school, none of them smoke. So there's nothing there in that space where he's got that influence of that's what to do, and his mum doesn't smoke, and as far as I'm aware, his half sisters don't smoke either. So he doesn't have any of that experience, and from a drinking perspective, um, he said, I don't drink anymore. And, even when he comes to poker nights with my friends, I don't drink. There's a few other guys there that don't drink, and, some others do. But, and he seems to have, I can't remember exactly what he said. He said something, and it was like he'd actually been paying attention that, I don't drink. And he made some comment about it not being a good thing, as in drinking not being a good thing. But I can't remember exactly what it was, but it got my attention going, "Oh, you're really." So I'm now wondering, going, "Oh,
serving.
is he actually going to, go down that path, or is he going to?" Because there was a couple of studies recently that they found even just drinking a little bit shrinks your brain. Um, which is not surprising, when because they always talk about there's always the joke then, alcohol kills your brain cells. So it's like, well, that just is, I grew up with those comments. Oh, you have a drink and kill a few brain cells, and it was like, and that was kind of you
It
joke
is
it
an
off, but
excess. I do believe that happens because when you drink a lot, like when you drink, I don't know. I I normally, if someone asks me, "Oh, do you drink?" No, I don't drink because I don't drink. It's very rare that I drink. I had the bottle I opened
yeah,
on New Year's Eve.
yeah,
It's been here in my house 8 months or six. It's a wine that I really enjoy. It's red wine,
yeah,
which is the one I like. But I'm not that kind of person that I will say yes. But if I'm on And normally if I go out to club, or I don't drink, but I like to drink, have a drink. If we are at home, enjoy ourselves, some friends around, yeah, one glass of it, but not to get myself drunk or to be like crazy, ridiculous. It's really rare. I get into that very rare. But yeah,
I
I
wonder
don't.
what, because coming with the drugs thing you mentioned, because I hadn't thought about that, because it's just so far removed from my reality of where we live. Drugs is just not something, again, the people that we associate with, and I know there's a number of parents out there that, that they will do the things that they do. But certainly in my circle, it's just not something that's even there. So, but I do wonder, like,
But,
what?
but Damien, if I don't know, I'm sure maybe you don't watch TV, but if you connect and switch the TV or switch the radio or switch a YouTube or social media, you will be facing this. That's the thing. It's not about only about our gatherings or everyone that is around us, because it's in the world. I don't know. It's just they think, wow, because it's like another subject that I would place now. I tell you about is drugs, is sex, and is bitcoins because it's everywhere.
I did. Is Bitcoin still a thing? I was surprised by that, but drugs, like, and you mentioned about watching TV or the radio, and you're right from that. What you highlighted there is because we don't watch TV. My son doesn't watch TV. I mean, we have, like, there'll be some Disney stuff. Like he was watching Andor on Disney, but he never finished that series. There's a couple of different, but we really don't watch. And I mentioned before about watching MASH. There's a reason I'm watching MASH, is because I think most of what's on TV is crap, and plus I'm too busy. The last thing we enjoyed together was the Star Trek Strange New World series. That we watched that, which I don't think it had any drugs in it. So.
But there you go. You can access through Netflix, Amazon, anything. Just go there, you checking. If it's not a child's Netflix account, you will have access to all of these three subjects, and you can get curious, and you can see, and you can find, oh, maybe this is interesting. Oh, they do this way. Oh, I don't know. It's so how we say this word, Damon, help me. Accessible.
Accessible, yeah. Yeah, it's something, I mean, and the sex thing is something I haven't had that discussion. And normally it's really funny, because when we do watch some stuff together, and no, which you said it's rare, but when it does, and then there might be a sex scene come on, and it said it's been a while that I've seen something like that. And normally he said he doesn't want to watch. There's only a couple of things he likes to watch, and that's it. And then he's back to playing his video games that he likes. But it was funny, like when there was this even kissing scene would come on, he'd turn away and not look. It was like, he's like, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that, was his thing. So I'm still waiting to have that conversation. But it's certainly, and there's a number of dads and men that we have this conversation, and we certainly want to have more of it. Is one to do with porn, and one that's not how women respond. That's not going to get you. If you want to have sex, copying what's in porn is not going to get you sex unless you're paying for it, because women are not going to. Majority of women don't respond that way. And the other one was masturbation as well, which is an easy one to it's like, and not for religious reasons, or you're going to go blind or anything like that, but the reason you don't do it is men and women is it's training of your body, and especially for guys, the strength of your hand and the fist is a much tighter grip than having intercourse. And so you're training your penis as such to not respond to. So I said, do you want? And I've had this conversation not with my son, but with other guys. So do you want to be training yourself. When I say other guys, more late teens and early 20s. Are you wanting to train yourself so that you cannot perform when you have sex? Is that something that you want to be doing? Have you thought that through? And they're going, actually, no, I hadn't. And it's like they're going, yeah. And you can see the light bulb go off, and it's like, yeah, it's not. I'm not saying never ever do it, but it's like if you're doing that all the time, you're training your body to respond to something that it's not, that's going to affect how you perform with your partner. And that's a major issue now that a lot of guys can't perform because they're too busy jerking off and they train their body to respond differently. And it's like, it doesn't work. Don't do it. And it's just, I don't know. So I haven't had that conversation with my son yet, but it's certainly
it will happen.
It'll come up at some point, but I kind of in a way make it a little bit light rather than serious, but then hit home the point of do you want to be able to have sex with a woman or not, because it's kind of an important thing. So, well, in a relationship anyway, it is. So, certainly, if you want to move forward and have children and move, then, well, I suppose you can go to the lab, but that's probably not as much fun.
There is a lot of there is, how I say, areas, or there is different concepts and subjects when it comes to masturbation. And you mentioned something very important, which is about getting to know your body, because I know there is some communities around the world that they do that for connection with yourself, not exactly for the masturbation alone, but it's to get to know your body. So you prepare yourself for your partner. You prepare yourself for your.
No, well, you need to know what works for you.
There's a
difference between knowing what works for you and jerking off 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and it said that it's not. Yeah, you shouldn't have anything where it's like oh, don't touch that. It's like that. That's not. I don't think that's healthy either. It is. You should know your body. I agree completely. But it's again having that conversation, being able to have that conversation, which as a parent, I think you need to be the leader in that regard too. It shouldn't be, you should. Well, that's how I see it. For me, is always, whatever it is, I'm here to guide you, and that's where we talk about as your mission as a parent. I mean, your job is to prepare them for their life. So, and if they choose to do stuff, if you give, that's why I look at my parents. There's some things they made mistakes with, but some things that they did right that I didn't. Some guidance that they gave that I didn't always adhere to, and which got me into trouble. Well, that's my fault because I was given the right advice and I chose not to follow it, and that's kind of how I see my role as when looking at my mission as a parent. It's, well, I'm here to give you, to be able to listen to what you need, which is important, and a lot of times we don't listen. That's my resolution, is to be a better listener by the end of this year. I think I listen pretty good, but I think it's just so fundamentally important. Especially, I suppose, because my son's 14. These next few years probably is going to require a lot of listening, rather than just saying you do this or you do that. It's like, okay, what's going on? Listening so I can understand, and be more about asking questions and what do you think is right for you, and this is something to consider, as opposed to you do that or else. It doesn't get anywhere.
So good.
It was interesting. I was reading a study last week to do with that. It was actually from Afghanistan. It's a report a friend of mine had put together, because she does a lot of work in that space over there. Well, she's Afghani originally and doesn't live there anymore. But she was doing some work over there, and it was funny. They were working with some of the parents, and it was more to do with the family violence. But the women that they work with, they actually some of the responses from the women were going, actually, now that I don't beat my children, they respond better. And it was like, I explained to them what they need. And it was interesting, just hearing, well, I wasn't hearing, but I was reading the statement. So in a sense, and I was hearing what they had said, but in a written form, how this process of having more open communication style rather than a dictatorial, you still have to guide your children, but this overarching dictatorship doesn't work. Well, we know dictatorships don't work generally. I mean, as a thing, they don't work. And as a leader in your relationship with your parent, I've found what's worked really well for me, and I think partly why a big part of why my son is the way he is, which is he's quite well rounded, is because I'm not dictating to him. He has the choice. But part of it's listening, part of it's guiding. An example is with his schooling. When he was in primary school, middle primary school, I don't know what it was, why it triggered in me, but there was a bit of a focus issue and things like that. And I was, for whatever reason, I thought, well, does he know why he's going to school? Because he doesn't seem to be and it's not unusual not to be motivated to be at school, but for whatever reason, does he know why? So I asked him, I said, do you know why you're going to school and why you're doing this? He goes, I don't know. And so I explained, I said that, well, you see what I do, and I go to work so we can have this, and we've got, there's money that exists, and we buy these things because you've seen me buy stuff for you, and well, this is the process. You get education so that you can add some value, and you get paid for that value, whether it's as an employee or as a business owner, and you need this from a financial perspective. And you go to school to get the foundation to have that knowledge so that you can add value and then get paid for that, whether it's via a business or via an employee. And I could see a little light bulb went off. So and then from that, later on, in his secondary school, I asked him, I said, what do you want as far as your marks go? Where do you want them to be? And he set the goal, which was high. I mean, like every parent, you want A triple plus, whatever it is, but he didn't set that. But he set a high mark that he wanted. My focus is maths and English, but and then this year, some of his exam results were A pluses. He got A pluses, and it was like, it was,
wow, well done.
So it was like, but it wasn't me driving him to do it. It was his choice to do that, and he put in the study, and so it was like, but that's where I think we coming back to this whole dictatorialship as a parent. It was really about listening. Well, coming back to June, it's like he's already everything he needs to be for me. He's my son. Whatever he chooses to do with his life is his choice. Financially, he'll be fine because we've got things set up, and there's he has money that he invests along with in the equity fund that we have, and he's part of that, so he's learning how that works. It's funny, like whenever I give it, because I give him little bonuses when he does something. I said, okay, I'll give you $50 or whatever for this effort, and they're surprised. They're just out of the blue when he does something that I think is worth a result. And so, what do you want to do with it? And he goes, I'll put it in the equity fund. So it's like he doesn't take it and buy lollies or whatever. He's investing it. And I tell him, I said, he'll get a return, and he'll earn. It's only a small amount because he's only got hasn't got hundreds of thousands of dollars in there yet. But so I go, did you know today while you're doing at school and stuff like that, you made $5? And he's got and he goes, oh, cool. I said, how much effort did it take to do that? He goes, none. He goes, is that good? He goes, yeah, I like that. So trying to little teasers like that to try and get him to pay attention to working smarter, certainly with his money. So should be pretty okay. He might be one of these 3-generation people that he takes it and blows it all. But again, not my problem. I've done what I can do. If you go and do everything stupid, yeah, you can come and move back in with your dad, but you're going to have a lot of chores to do.
we plant the seeds and we let it go, because on the end of the day it was exactly what our parents did to us, and then we have the choice. We choose.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I set a very clear boundary as well, because there was a member of the family, not direct family, but an extended member of the family, a young adult or older adolescent. Actually, no, he's in his early 20s. And he was a bit lost and couldn't be in his home anymore. And I said, okay, you can't be there. Can come to my house, that because again, extended family. The mum was a friend, obviously a friend, but family related. And so I said, give her a break. You can come and live with me, and give you some guidance, that kind of thing. And so he's lived with me and my son, and was helping him out. Got him a job, which he didn't last very long at. He just wasn't interested. He would stay up really late, playing video games, which again, I have no problem with video games. My son plays video games all the time. He's just done his work. But then he would get up at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and just didn't do anything. And I spent a bit of time with him trying to motivate and encourage him and things like that. But I thought about it from a parent perspective. I said, well, is this a good example for my son? And I said, well, the rules out of the house, this is what you need to do. And he's not abiding by the rules, and went through, it's at my house, my rules. And it's the same with everybody. I think it should be your house. Someone doesn't abide by the rules, you can tell them to get out. And I worked with him for quite a bit of time to explain, this is, you need to do this. And he just didn't do it. And he didn't do it. And I said, and finally I said, and I did it with my son there as well. I said to him, it says, we've gone through this several times. You had these rules to do. It was pretty simple. There wasn't a lot that you had to do, and you still haven't done that. You've got 2 months. You have to move out in 2 months, and you can't move back in with your mum because she's not going to have you back. You need to sort it out. And he was like, but it was not so much about for him, it was setting the framework for my son, going, this is how this house works. Because I didn't want him to get to that age and expecting, because I know I've got some other friends like that, where the kid's like 27, 28, still sitting at home playing video games all day, doing nothing. And I'm like, that's not happening in my house. And so, yeah, but he did. He found a place with his friends, and they moved out, and they're doing okay. But he's had to shape up a little bit. And maybe it is the case of, like the mama bird kicking the baby out of the nest. You either fly or you hit the ground. You need to work this out, and maybe that's what he needed. But it was more said from an example perspective. That was more. I did that more so for my son to go, hey, this behavior is not acceptable in our family. And you can't be in this house if you're going to behave that way. So, and that's why I did it in front of Benjamin, so that he would have that experience and know that if I said, get your act together or you're not going to be here, I meant it.
Yeah. It is important, because I think about what just you done with this boy. I would think twice if I have a girl. I have a daughter, because I did had people in my house, like a couple of times, different people coming and living with me as cousins and good friends. But I really think carefully, because it would affect my daughter. Back in the day, she was young, right? Like, it would affect. I had one friend, one of my best friends, she lived with me here. But yes, I opened my doors because it was my best friend and I know her, but she was not when she arrived at my place, for example, now you spoke about this, she didn't know how to just clean the house. Like tidy up, like this is my rules, like we need to wash the dishes, we do certain things, small things, but she didn't know how to put some clothes on the take out from the wash machine and dry them. She didn't know how to do, and I had to go through this process. We had a couple of arguments, but then she got it, and now she's a perfect girl. But I didn't see like it's on her, only her fault on this, because I do really look to when you were talking about the boy, I was thinking about how he was living with his parents, how they raised him. Because I tell you, the way I am today is because I went to a boarding school. I spent most of the days at the boarding school, and the weekends I would go home. So, and how I say, the systematic way of doing things makes your brain, and you get used to, because at my mom's house, before I went to the boarding school, my mom had my two old sisters plus my cousins. They were like 5 adults, and I was young, and my younger sister. Mom would slap them if they say, Yola, go and wash a dish. She don't allow them to make me do anything. So imagine I'm like a princess in the house. I don't do anything. I have like 12 years old, and I don't do a penny. When I got into the boarding school, that was a nightmare. But I automatically enjoy that. I said, oh, I like this, because I always been a person that when I was young as well, one of the things I would love to do is go to the army. And I always like this be organized and be on time, be doing things properly. Nowadays I'm much relaxed, but I used to be crazy about it, because the boarding school just made me, it's like, example, you would come to my place and you sleep and you wake up and you leave the bed just undone. And for me, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. How can you leave the bed undone? Because
I can't do that. I have to make the bed in the morning.
I need to, when I was at the boarding school, I need to take every sheet from the bed, turn the mattress, put the mattress the other side, do it again every single day. So in my pardon, it's just my rhythm, and everything, boarding schools is not a playing ground. It's a it's like you focus and you do things properly. So I come from there because when I was 14 years old, and I really enjoy. But if you talk with my young sister, she's got a trauma. For her, that was the worst years of her life. For me, it was the best years of my life, where I could do a lot of things and have fun and play around. But for her, the fact that she needs to go in a queue like every girl, we were in a girls' boarding school, so for her it's complete. I have a different perception, like experience from her, and we were at the same place. She's really, I don't know. She's got a big trauma of that place, and I love the place. I love the fact that I had to be organized, because I really do believe that who I am today is because of that in a lot of things. So when you spoke about that boy, it just got me that, because we don't know what he's been through. I don't know what he's been through.
And there's a lot of history there, and I mean, he's one of one of 4 siblings, or one of 4 children, I should say. He's got 3 other siblings. There's a number of different factors. I mean, and he's deaf as well, which, there's a whole bunch of things. Never had a father in his life either. So there's a long story there to suit that, but it was like, it was. I think I think I gave him a lot longer than I probably should have. Maybe because he was family, but it was like, if it was outside of my house, no problem. But inside my house, this is not acceptable. So I had to draw the line. But I made a point of showing Benjamin that. But yeah, like you say, with a girl, it would be different as well. Which it wasn't. That you do treat them differently. There isn't certainly an inherent risk. So when you talk about things like pregnancy, there is an inherent risk for women that guys don't have. There, a 9-month risk. Well, it's more than 9 months, but 9 months of gestation. So that obviously you treat that very, very differently. Yeah, but it was, again, I think wanting to, for that mission as a parent, it was just I wanted to set that this is the bound, this is the guidelines for this house, but partly for him to see as well, growing into a man. These are decisions that you have to make, because it was part of. I did talk to him about that. I said to Benjamin, this behavior, we set rules in this house, and you'll set rules in your own house when you have one. And it's up to you to manage those rules. Otherwise, everything goes out the window. It's part of that responsibility of being a parent, which,
it is, and you did the right, in my opinion, you did the right thing, because you, first of all, I believe that you were trying to help your family or friends. But then when you have the situation in your house, you just realize, wait a minute, is this healthy for my son?
Yeah.
Because for myself, because on the end of the day, sometimes we really want to help. I did that as well, like I said. And I came to a point like, you know what? You need to move because you.
Well, then there was a bit more history there as well, because he did have an issue with some aggression towards his mum and sisters, which we fixed. So we fixed that, and that stopped. He didn't like me for a long time but get over it. He did get over it, and we got along all right after that. But it was like, this is, your behavior is not appropriate. It is not appropriate for you to be aggressive towards your mum or your sisters, and this is what it feels like. So he did, he got to experience that, and so that behavior changed, and he said he didn't like me, and his mum was there when we went through this process, so it was all fine. And so he changed in that regard, so that was good. That he completely stopped that behavior, but it was then the next step of, okay, you can't just be sitting on, maybe because he's on welfare, because he was, he does have the deafness disability, that it was like, oh, I don't have to, and he was making excuses. And the job that I got him would help him get to what he wanted to do. He didn't see it till after he walked away from it. And then 2 weeks later goes, oh, I need to get a rail ticket. And I said, well, you were just working at a rail company. They would have got you the ticket. And he goes, and it's like, did you think that through? And he goes, no, I didn't think it through. And I said, well, the opportunity was there. It was freely handed to you, and you walked away from it.
There is a lot of things behind, I'm sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I know you've got something coming up, and you've got to head off shortly. If I understand the timing in our timing distance, timing difference.
What time is for you?
It's 11 o'clock at night here for me, so it's not too bad. I normally, lately I've been up till about 2 o'clock in the morning doing stuff, but. It's been it's been weird, like, for instead of partying hard, I've been working hard over years. It's been fun. I got a lot done. I got some really cool stuff done.
Me too, but what makes me do that is knowing that it's going to be, I'm going to leave this done for the future that comes after me. I'm doing something that is not just for me. And I'm always excited because I spent this last 3 days, it's like 2 o'clock today. The other day I was here like till 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I feel all right. I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel, it is a great feeling. And I'm going to carry on whenever I feel for, if I need to stay. So I totally understand you. If you stay till late, you're not just staying there looking to the computer, analyzing what corner, if it's round or curve or is rect or whatever. You're doing something powerful.
Yeah. There is something about doing something productive that feels really good. But anyway, I know you have to go. Yola, it's always lovely chatting with you. It's so much fun. It's good to see you smile, and I'm glad you enjoyed your letter. And look forward to catching up again soon.
Yes. Take care.
Thank you for being part of the Share.care community and helping people around the world prosper. You're creating a bigger pie for everyone to share. The more people contributing to the world being a better place, the better the world becomes, for others and for you.